Good evening. You're watching Point Blank at KTN News. Before I speak to Lady Justice Nancy Baraza, let us see what she's done before.
Nancy Baraza currently serves as a senior lecturer and chairperson of the Department of Public Law at the School of Law, University of Nairobi. Dr. Baraza's star rose in the country's judicial circles to become Kenya's first Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. Before these newfound roles, Dr. Baraza worked as a commissioner with the defunct Constitution of Kenya Review Commission and specifically chaired the committee that crafted the Bill of Rights in the Constitution promulgated in the year 2010.
I would want to be remembered as one of the judges that created jurisprudence for this country, that gave life to the Constitution.
Her desire for reforms has been a constant point of reference as a dawn. Dr. Baraza has also held other key positions such as Vice Chairperson of the Kenya Law Reform Commission from 2007 to 2011. Her career in the legal fraternity dates back to the late 90s. Baraza cut her niche as a women's rights crusader at the forefront of championing for equality since her heydays as a founding member of the Federation of Women Lawyers of Kenya, where she served as its chairperson between 1995 and 1998.
Judiciary is an institution which, if it functions well at its optimum, should be able to contribute a lot to the fight against corruption.
She has been a legal practitioner under the firm name and style of Nancy Baraza and Company Advocates. Although the push towards gender inclusion remains a mirage, Baraza's illustrious career saw her receive an award from former President Mwai Kibaki as the Order of Grand Warrior for her remarkable work towards humanity. To date, Dr. Baraza consults for the United Nations with her wealth of experience, which includes serving as a council member of Egerton University Council from 2007 to 2011.
You're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. My guest today, Lady Justice Nancy Baraza. Karibu sana to Point Blank and KTN.
Asante sana.
I'm happy you're here. Lady Justice, let me begin where it ended. You were the first woman Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, the first occupant of the first Supreme Court that was brought in by the 2010 Constitution. Mm-hmm. And you left before your term of office was over. Were you treated fairly?
What happened was unfortunate, but I think it attracted other malevolent forces from out there. As between me and the young lady who could easily have been my daughter, and I apologize to her, it had something to do with my security, a security lapse on my part when I went to Village Market. But I think other forces joined the war, and that is where I say I wasn't treated fairly.
I read a lot during the time in the media. There were even junior judges, some senior judges, speaking directly to the press. It looked not just an issue of the tribunal, it looked like it became a media feast, I think.
Actually, it became a media feast, and you are right. My own colleagues from the judiciary, and these I'm not lying, because whoever they were calling, I was able to get the information because people were so shocked. if a judge of the Court of Appeal, for example, would call somebody in the media and tell them, keep this story rolling until she gets out, then her colleagues will follow her and get out. And you do remember we were being treated like outsiders. So people were calling the media. People were paying people to throw things into the media. And the reasoning was, even if she survives the tribunal, let her have no face. She should have no face with which to come back to work here.
Your leadership, was this part of a resistance by sitting judges that you came from the outside? There's this debate as to whether senior judicial officers should be taken from private practice into the bench, or they should groom one of their own. Was there a sense of that in your experience?
For me, that debate was a bit misplaced, because once a new constitution was adopted, it opened space for anybody in this republic, anybody who felt they qualify to apply, whether you came from within or from outside. And that is how some of us applied. It's because it opened the space, but there was this feeling, and still there is this feeling, that people who do not come from within are outsiders. And actually, Mutunga and I were treated like outsiders.
Well, I don't know if you can also speak to the point that people feel Mutunga and you could have done better had you had more support, from career, if you want to say career judges, not as outsiders. Did you feel something there is a disconnect?
There was that. There was that something.
An awkwardness.
Yes, an awkwardness.
Yes.
And
now I have to ask you this, because I don't know whether you can answer. But is this Deputy Chief Justice seat belonging to women? Is it bewitched or haunted? Because I know your sister now is also having her problems. Justice Mwilu, you had it. Is it an accident of history, or is it a seat that also shows succession?
I don't know the politics behind it. If it is because somebody has made a mistake and the warrant's being tossed out, then that can be done. But for me, I feel the standards applied on me were too high, in the sense that after I left, people have done worse things. And nobody has ever harassed them the way they harassed me. And I keep saying, if we employed the same anger as Kenyans, the same anger they applied on me, then we would be driving out all the thieves from offices, all these corrupt fellows. They shouldn't be in the office if we applied that anger. But I have moved on, and I keep saying that if I was used to set standards for our country, then I took it.
No, clearly it was a misdemeanor. Even if you were to say what your matter was, what lawyers would call a misdemeanor, compared to the grave economic crimes. Do you have some bitterness? You say you moved on?
No, I'm not bitter. I've spent my life fighting for the good of this country. I was part of that constitution making. I was part of setting those standards for our country. So I say, if we set standards, let's apply them uniformly. Okay? Otherwise, somebody might feel you were malicious against me. All right?
Now, talking about the court that you helped to create and the role that the Constitution envisaged it to play, and having gone without the merits or the demerits of it, maybe 2 presidential petitions and certain things, is the court developing in your view, or is it developing too slowly to improve not just jurisprudence, but the general administration of justice?
Mixed reactions from people out there. I teach. From where I sit now, ours is to critique the judgments.
Where are you teaching?
I teach at the School of Law, University of Nairobi. That's where I am. So our business is to critique the judgments that come especially from the Supreme Court.
My friend Eugene Wamalo was telling me he was a student of yours.
Yes, he was, and he graduated with his LLM last December, yes.
Other prominent Kenyans that are under your wings?
Very many prominent Kenyans. The former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka was our student. The current Deputy Chief Justice, Madam Philomena Mwilo.
What is she doing?
She graduated with her LLM last December, but she's embarking on her PhD. Extremely hardworking. I'm proud of her.
Yes. So the Nairobi Law School, and I will come back to the question I asked about the Supreme Court, was always up there as a top university, and now arguably still is the university of choice. Certainly I know Strathmore is also got a fairly good school of law. How do you rate University of Nairobi Law School?
University of Nairobi Law School is still the school to beat. I think Strathmore is shining more than we are because they are few. No, they are few. So if you send few students to the Kenya School of Law, and they all pass, but compared to us, who send probably 50 times the number, then we may look.
What is the standing of Nairobi University Law School comparably in the continent?
From the ratings that we get yearly, I think we rate anywhere between 6, we oscillate between 6 and 10 best universities in Africa. And I would say very, very confidently that we are the best university south of the Sahara and north of the Limpopo.
Now, your brother, the Chief Justice, and your brothers on the bench and your sister are watching, I'm sure, Point Blank tonight. And, looking as a critic from the outside, and I'm sure they not take offense with your view, how is the court growing, or is it not growing?
No, the court, depending on what it is you want, if it is in terms of making it possible for Kenyans to access justice, I think they are doing very well in the sense that now they have built more courthouses, more infrastructure. They have employed more judges. They have digitized the place to some extent. They have taken justice closer to the people. For example, in far-off counties, they have mobile courts. So they have done very well. And they also have introduced the mediation court annexed mediation program in all matters, civil, family, commercial. And that is easing the burden on the courts themselves. And it is doing very, very well. So I think they are trying. But we have a few hiccups. I went back to my law firm. So once in a while, I get a matter, file in Kiambu, file it in Milimani. We don't get the judgments as fast as I would have expected. So that I have a matter in Kiambu where I have gone for a judgment 7 times now, covering a period of almost 2 years. And you go and they say it's not ready, it's not ready. So what I think the Chief Justice should do, probably devise a mechanism within the judiciary itself where he can monitor the delivery of justice. So we may be employing more judges, but probably more work is flowing in, seeing how Kenyans are so litigious, so aware of their rights. Probably we have more Kenyans going to court. But we should have an inbuilt mechanism where we monitor the speed at which we deliver justice to the Kenyan people, because that is one of the major reasons that Kenyans wanted reforms in the judiciary. They wanted expeditious disposal of their cases. So if you go for a whole year and you haven't gotten a judgment, I think that is not good. But they are doing well so far.
I wanted to ask you on that issue more point blank. The younger lawyers watching you today, for whom many you are an inspiration and a role model, are going to be asking, what is the way out of such a situation? Do I pen a letter to a complaints department? How does the judiciary police itself? Because as the last place where people go for resolution of matters, this delay, justice delayed is justice denied. What would be the mechanism to kickstart and put the judiciary on its toes on delay of judgments, for example?
Now that depends on the reason for the delay. I think some are overworked, you can see, and actually they are overworked. Maybe there are some who are not working as hard as they should. So depending on the reasons, then there are very many alternatives. But what I would suggest to the administration there is they should have a mechanism of monitoring the speed at which
like a peer review. Something which is not,
yeah, when I was there, we were thinking about something to do with digitization and ICT, a monitoring mechanism inbuilt where you target your dates for delivery of a judgment, for example, and then it will alert you if that date is approaching and you haven't written the judgment. I don't know what became of it. But there should be a mechanism where judges and magistrates know that they should write judgments by this date. And I think it can work.
And also there should be a similar mechanism to inform the administrative arm of the court that this magistrate has often given too long to write judgments.
Absolutely. We should have it. And I think in the American courts, there is something like that. Delivery of justice is very, very expeditious. Yes. So I think they need to look there, and I would appeal to His Lordship, Justice Maraga, that is an area where Kenyans are feeling a bit concerned.
So Your Ladyship, taking you back to the Supreme Court, as an appellate court, it was brought in by millions of Kenyans fighting for improvement of judicial services to assist the Court of Appeal or become an avenue for improved jurisprudence or improving our jurisprudence. To your mind, has that court played the role for which it was envisaged to play, or is there room for improvement?
They have done well in some areas. Of course, it was created because of what had happened to the Court of Appeal of that time. It was meant to be the last arbiter and the court where Kenyans would feel they have had the last resort, that their issues would be settled there. But jurisprudentially, there are some good jurisprudence came out. Sometimes I hear people saying there is a bit of contradictory on almost same facts sort of case, and then there is.
You know, I'm asking you point blank.
That is what I hear.
You know why I'm asking you this point blank is because part of the duty I think you have is because you've been there. It is only you who can speak to them about the need to set precedents that are stable. And I'm asking this because I've heard the same, that there is some judgments coming out of the Supreme Court that are really confusing the lower courts because they don't seem to be consistent. Is there, need to look at precedent fairly more closely? You
see, for a court to deviate from its own judgment, from precedent, there must be a very, very good reason to do that. So that you just don't wake up and deviate from a judgment. Because then you bring instability in jurisprudence, and therefore you don't guide other courts.
How important is it your leadership for, at least at the level of the Supreme Court, for each justice to write their own judgment, so that academicians like yourself, the public, can read the reasoning and the stability of the judge, rather than lumping everybody in one court?
I think that would be good. I personally vouched for that. And what makes the reading of the judgment of the Supreme Court of America, for example, is the reasoning of the individual judges, the underpinning philosophy of the individual judge, the ideology of an individual judge. It makes it a very, very exciting judgment to read.
What happened to the Mutunga court? Did you write judgments yourselves when you were there, or did you yourselves also wish you had? What was the case then?
You know, I left after we wrote the first two advisory opinions, and one of them very, very crucial because it lays the basis for the jurisprudence or for the philosophy that the Supreme Court should adopt. And then thereafter I left, so I don't know. But what we used to do, or what we did in those cases was, one, we would go with a section, a topic of a case, and you go to write your piece of judgment on it. And then we would meet, consult, and conference, and then put it together. Okay? But we did write our bit.
So the better way forward, the best practice going forward for Kenyans to benefit would be for individual justices to write their reasoning and their judgments so that they can be critiqued and even improve jurisprudence by helping younger lawyers look at the critical issues.
I think that is useful also, because when you are employed, when you are appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court, they appoint you for very many reasons. They appoint you because of your philosophical direction, because they look at what you have written, for example, your research work.
Yeah, in the US you have conservative and liberal judges.
So they appoint you because of your ideological leaning, and it is deliberate. So they balance out the liberals, the conservatives, the moderates.
Now, your leadership, I'm concerned about the quality of the current lawyer. Obviously, at the University of Nairobi, you are doing a parallel program. And senior counsel was here last week, Ahmed Abdullahi. And he said to me that parallel programs are affecting the quality of the degree. Can that be the case? Are there different examination criteria for parallel program students at the University of Nairobi and the ones who come during the day?
No. It's same curriculum, same teachers, same lecturers. The only difference is that one class comes during the day, and the other one in the evening, because these are people who work. I don't think parallel classes per se are bad.
So I'm asking you point blank,
Yeah.
For Kenyans to trust. You are a lecturer who handles both. And it's a very important thing for people to know that the fact that somebody has done a parallel program doesn't mean he got a free ride. I would like you to clarify that so that we can move on.
There is no free ride at all.
The examination?
The examination is same and they pass. And let me tell you, some of our best performing students are from the parallel class. I think last year but one, we had two first class honors degrees from the parallel class. And mind you, this is a class which is bringing in even professionals in other fields. So these are very, very qualified people. They don't perform badly.
So your leadership, you're telling Kenyans that point blank, that the examinations are the same, adjudication is the same,
Yes.
And the University of Nairobi does not give two sets of degrees in the law program.
It doesn't at all. If a student is poor, we find the poor ones in the regular class, and we find the poor ones in the parallel class. But parallel class cannot be condemned to be a bad class.
So huyu rafiki yangu Amalo wa kweli alisoma? Hakupata bahati in cabinet?
No, he did.
Yes.
And he had to do his CAT, he had to do his homework, and he did, and we mark. So, and these are very, very serious people.
Now I want to talk to you about your faculty, the people who are teaching. Are you relying solely on career lecturers or professors at the School of Law, or do you also benefit or rely on practicing lawyers who come in to handle certain components of the lecturing program at the law school?
No. Currently, I think we are fully capacitated as a school. We have about 72 lecturers for the School of Law alone, 7 of whom are full professors, 3 of whom are associate professors, 40 of us who hold PhDs, and the remaining 30 are in the process of concluding their PhDs. So we are fully capacitated.
The Kenya School of Law,
Yes.
your leadership, has become overwhelmed by the number of applicants. To what extent are universities getting involved in assisting the School of Law to be able to absorb? Is there any, do you have any discussions? Do you have because obviously that's where they go to test the work that you have done at the law school before they go to the bar, the state of the law school, Kenya School of Law.
The School of Law indeed has big numbers of applicants, and they just don't come from Kenya. And we have about 7 law schools in the country. And then it absorbs other students from other universities around the world. So the numbers that are getting admission into the Kenya School of Law are real big. And from what has been happening, the rate of passing, a number who pass their exams has been worrying all of us. So I think we are thinking through that to see what can be done to alleviate the situation.
I say that because obviously the last year is critical for particularly practice. You've been a practicing lawyer. And are you happy with the admin and the people who also, obviously you've got very good at the School of Law, and as you say, Strathmore and so on, the other schools, 7 others, the capacity within the School of Law itself, is it remunerating enough? Does it have qualified people? In addition to, yes, the numbers are big, but what about the quality of the program? The year in review. It's a year, is it?
Yeah, the Kenya School of Law?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't gone there to assess how many lecturers are there, but I did teach there between 2009 and 2011 before I went into the judiciary. I was doing part-time teaching at the Kenya School of Law, and what I know is that the numbers are real big. Probably they need...
The time, your leadership, not cutting you short, is coming when the 7 schools of law, or some of you, need to get more involved in just understanding the problems there.
That's what we are working on. In fact, it is a major debate for us at the School of Law, and we want to involve our colleagues from around the other universities to see exactly what can be done, in what way can we help. But as the University of Nairobi School of Law, we've gone back to see in which areas we can step in to help students in areas where probably when they reach the Kenya School of Law, they feel a bit weak. So
well,
we have such a program which we are undertaking.
Well, you're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. Lady Justice Nancy Baraza says judgments are taking too long and says and remembers that her case was treated unfairly, but she has moved on. This is KTN News. Good evening and welcome back to Point Blank here at KTN News. Your Ladyship, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the Judicial Service Commission, created by the 2010 Constitution, were things that may have changed the way the composition. First of all, do you have a viewpoint on what is the proper composition of the Judicial Service Commission?
For me, it's not really the man or woman who sits there. It is the level of integrity that person exercises. Previously, before the new constitution was adopted, the Judicial Service Commission was comprised of some members who were ordinary members from outside there, judges, retired judges. But the new Judicial Service Commission has membership drawn from what I would call the stakeholders of the justice sector, the Attorney General, the Law Society of Kenya, two of them, man and woman, members of the judiciary, the magistracy, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. And currently, I think the Chief Justice himself is the chairperson of the JSC, and the Deputy Chief Justice is also a member. So that is the composition.
Now, I want to ask you about women in the judiciary before I ask you about women in leadership. Is Kenya ready for a president and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court being a lady? Are we ready for the highest a woman has reached, where you are as Deputy Chief Justice?
Whether
a woman in Kenya should be running the top job.
And why not? Why not? Women in Kenya are as competent as men. We have highly qualified women, highly qualified lawyers, women of integrity, and they can run that office very well. But as you know, it is a competitive office, and it can only be filled if it is vacant. So if a Chief Justice is male, then if he vacates and the Deputy Chief Justice is a woman and she doesn't apply to move into the position of the Chief Justice, then that position will remain for a male Chief Justice. So it began that way. But as to whether women can run those offices and run for those offices, for heaven's sake, they should. We have very, very competent women.
Your Ladyship, unless I'm wrong, looking at least the cases that come to the media, what you call top lawyers, let us first of all even begin by this title, senior counsel. You find that it is male-dominated. And sometimes I sit down and I wonder, those who are allocated this title of senior counsel, are they saying that there are no women in Kenya who deserve or have earned the title? For example, yourself, senior counsel, given the level you held in the judiciary. Is there not, honestly, almost a reverse gear on the achievement of women in the judiciary?
For the longest time, the legal profession was dominated by men. So probably why that could be the reason why they are there. But now we have very many women and competent ones. That should be looked into.
But I'm asking you, Nancy, this is point blank.
Yes.
And millions of Kenyans are watching you. Yes. Even those men who give themselves title are watching you. The Honorable, the Attorney General, the President of the Supreme Court, all the people involved in the administration of justice. And I'm putting it to you, and I'm saying it point blank. Are you telling me, of all the people appointed senior counsel, this country has failed to see 1 or even 5 women who can?
I personally don't see why we don't have very many women there. What I'm saying is there are many competent women in the legal profession who merit. So they should look there.
But I'm asking you to call it out. I'm asking you point blank to say it to them so that they can hear. Because every woman in Kenya is now tuned in to KTN, watching Nancy Baraza. And I'm saying to you, as a senior lawyer who's risen to Chief Justice of Kenya, is it fair that they don't see fit for women to be named senior counsel?
They should name women senior counsel because we have very many competent women, qualified women in the legal profession.
Now, Nancy, moving from the courts and moving from that, is that the same problem women are having in elective positions across the breadth of the public sphere? Do you feel there's good movement? Do you feel there's still much that needs to be done?
You know, this one, Tony, I have to give a background to women's disempowerment. And that is the reason that we have affirmative action entrenched in our constitution. Women are coming from a very disempowered position because of our the social background, the patriarchal nature of our society. So that women have not been able to compete on the same platform with men for political positions, for representation in parliament, and for other public offices because of the very nature of our society and the disempowered background that they are emerging from. So that disadvantages them, and that is why we have affirmative action. It wasn't put there for nothing. But the sad thing is we are not implementing the affirmative action.
The late Apollo Jonjo was once told me when people were discussing the creation of a woman rep, he was saying that he thought it was better if the man was a governor, was a man, that the deputy should be a woman. And if the woman was a governor, a deputy should be a man. And he was saying that that allows executive experience, exposure to real work as opposed to putting the woman as a flower. And he was saying that he finds the woman rep not to have a defined job or position which can allow her to grow. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. The woman rep was one mechanism of trying to achieve the 1/3 gender representation in parliament. It was just a method of sourcing women to meet the 1/3 criteria, all right? But it wasn't a job or a seat created for women to represent women as people think. It's a form of affirmative action to get women so that we get the 1/3, we meet the 1/3 threshold. And once those women get into parliament, they become parliamentarians. And the role of a parliamentarian is clearly spelled out in the Constitution. They are lawmakers. But the way these women are being judged, or the women representative, the 47 women reps are being judged is a bit harsh and ignorant, I think, from
that is agreed on a national level. I concede with you. But point blank, at the county level, would that not, even if you don't remove the woman rep, would it not be an improvement to the county structure for women to be involved in the running of the county, where predominantly many counties are run by men? Like you explained about the Chief Justice and the Deputy, is there room in future review of our laws or you think women ought to just fight for their position without there being those kind of provisions?
But the provision is already there in the Constitution. The 1/3 gender rule under Article 81 of the Constitution runs across appointive and executive positions in the national and county levels. So it cuts across. It's just that we are not implementing it. So that if we implemented Article 81.
So point blank again, the Speaker of the National Assembly, those people who are leader of minority, leader of majority, all those people are listening to you. And you're saying that there is lack of implementing a law that already is in place.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So you're saying that there is enough law.
There is law.
Lack of political will.
Lack of political will. The 1/3 gender legislative framework. What has happened? Parliament has completely refused to enact it. Otherwise, the Constitution provides for that. If we implemented Article 81, which calls for not more than 2/3 representation of either male or female in appointive and elective positions, then we wouldn't be having this problem. And they have refused to enact legislation to actualize Article 81. So it is lack of political will, and sometimes I feel it is even ignorance of the Constitution itself. Because the Constitution says do this, and they are not doing it.
And I wanted then to say, when political parties are drawing their manifestos, would you not then advise the woman voter to be more vigilant on parties that understand which parties, because it seems to me, being the majority in the country, women have a voice. And I want to ask you, being out there as a role model of women, whether you feel women are not educated in voter education to understand that their vote matters, so that they are able to uplift not just what is provided for in the law, but also in the spirit of the law.
Again, I'll take you back to the social background of the women, our patriarchal nature, the patriarchal nature of our society, where women have been socialized to believe that women cannot lead. Women themselves believe women cannot lead. And that has got nothing to do with women being bad. It is the way they have been socialized. So apart from having law in place, a good constitution in place, I think much more needs to be done. Sensitization and empowerment of these women to believe in themselves, to know that this is what the law says, to know that they are capable of leading. So much more needs to be done than just having the law.
Well, when Charity Ngilu ran for president in 1997, she got 19 members of parliament. It was the first time a woman really was seen going for the highest office with SDP. Since then, I know Mother Karua, also offered herself. Is there going to become, or is this the time that our women should do more, have more confidence, not leave it as a given that it's a man's world out there in the political sphere? How do you see the short, well, there have been the greats, Phoebe as CEO, there have been Wangari Maathai, the trailblazers, but where are women currently in politics in Kenya?
We have very few, unfortunately, and very, very sad that we could not vote in Charity Ngilu, that we could not vote in Martha Karua. Very, very intelligent, very brilliant leaders, very capable. It is unfortunate, but it shouldn't just be the duty of women to vote in women. I think it behoves all of us as a society, men and women, to identify who is a good leader. If a woman is a good leader, and I have no doubt that Mother Karua is a good leader, so that we vote for them. But the nature of our politics is such that we actually do not look out for who is the best among the Kenyans to give votes.
So do we have enough to have wished women Happy Mother's Day yesterday? Do you think the Mother's Day has been reflected by the conduct of parties and ourselves?
And it's not just women, I told you, men and women.
Yes.
We should be able to identify who is the best among Kenyans. I'm not saying among women, among Kenyans. And we give them the vote. I don't think that is the reason that we vote.
At the funeral of Winnie Mandela, I felt that the accolades of her achievements came late, that it was then that people actually realized that when Mandela was in jail, she did most of the work. And you obviously know the work Ida Odinga was doing when Raila was in detention. Is it also that women are shy or that they do not sometimes come out there? Wangari Maathai was quite vocal and was even recognized by the Nobel Peace Prize. Is there an element of timidness where women should actually, for lack of a better word, put their chest forward?
There are good women out there, women who have contributed a lot to our society, to our politics. You mentioned Ida Odinga is one of them, the late Wangari Maathai. But how do we treat them? How did we treat Wangari as a society? You know, she was strong. She tried to come out, but look at what we did to her. You know, we are not fair to those women. They come out. Ida comes out. Phoebe Asio comes out. Mother Karua comes out. What do we do to them? And we can't leave it.
Mama Ngina Kenyatta brought up her children. When she was left with children, I think they were 15.
Absolutely, and she did a brilliant job. And she looks very well, by the way, with the work she has done. It's unfortunate as a society. I think we need to introspect and see where we go wrong when it comes to women in leadership. But there.
Now, Nancy, I wanted to ask you about mentorship before I move to the other subject. At what level do women who have attained your status and position, need to go to girls' schools and give motivational, speeches, including our universities? Because I wonder whether or not it's about inspiration, let alone, because opportunity and inspiration together with ambition create the result. To what extent are women playing their role as mentors? Or because in the old days you had maendeleo wanawake, I'm only wondering, because when I see you here at Point Blank, I wonder how many young girls watching today feel inspired to study law and to reach the levels you did.
People go out there to try to inspire, but I guess probably we need to do much more. But we have had our hands full, trying to do this, trying to do that.
Your wife, you're the mother.
Your wife, the mother, you are trying to do the laws. So we've been there doing things. But there are women who go out there to inspire. I invite powerful women, good women to the university, for example, to talk to our students. And recently I had Honorable Mother Karua there, and they were very, very happy.
Oh, fantastic. You've got people like Gina Dean. So there's several women in their areas.
Yes.
Who can, so that is good. I'm happy to hear Martha did that. Now, I wanted to come to you about the referendum, or there are two things that I want to talk to you together. One is, as the law provides, there should be a census every 10 years. And that just helps the government in planning and so forth. And when you look at the last census, women were more than men. And this number is a number that doesn't reflect in the electoral register, as we were discussing. As we look at the argument for or against a possible referendum, we have a very good Bill of Rights. But is there anything we can do more, for that would advance opportunities for women?
I don't know what issues are coming out for the referendum, but what I know is the current constitution is a very, very powerful framework for empowerment of women, for empowerment of the youth, for empowerment of all Kenyans. It has the equality and non-discrimination provisions. It provides for socio-economic rights, political rights. So it has, but it's just that we are not implementing those provisions of the Constitution.
So I want to talk to you about corruption in two segments. So the first segment is corruption within judiciary, corruption within lawyers. To the extent that people feel that the accused persons in major corruption cases use lawyers who are connected to judges or magistrates and therefore corrupt the administration of justice, that it is even useless to bring any case in court because it will fall on its sword. Is there an endemic problem between the fight of corruption and judicial and the administration of justice?
Now, corruption in the judiciary has always been there. And in fact, one of the reasons that Kenyans wanted the judiciary overhauled was because of corruption. And you remember there was the Sharad Rao tribunal, which dealt with the vetting of judges and magistrates. But the sad thing is, Kenyans complain about corruption, but they never bring forward the cases of corruption. In fact, none of them, few people turned up at the Sharad Rao tribunal to present cases of corruption. Corruption at the judiciary should not be excused. It should not be, it should be dealt with. That's what I'm trying to say. But it cannot be dealt with if people do not come forward to point out the corrupt judges. And certainly they are there. But unless there is evidence, then we will never be able to deal with it.
And it's also important to talk about the corrupt lawyer.
Yes.
Because there is an issue where, you point the finger at the magistrate, but maybe there is an enabler. And when being both, you've acted and you've been a judge, and you therefore know both sides of it, do you think there should be more attention as well on errant lawyers? And there should be action, because they seem to be the go-between in most cases of alleged corruption.
Absolutely. I think I have always said law society should take this up very, very seriously and deal with such lawyers. And of course, they are the ones who bring the bad name to the judiciary. They should be dealt with. But again, Kenyans should be courageous enough to name who these lawyers are. They are there, and they are messing up our justice system. And the law society should be able to discipline them.
Well, you're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. Her Ladyship, Nancy Baraza, says corruption in the judiciary should not be excused, and errant lawyers should be dealt with by the LSK. This is KTN News. You're watching KTN Point Blank here on KTN News with Lady Justice Nancy Baraza. Nancy, with regard to corruption in the country, I know we've touched a bit of corruption in the courts. There's a sense that if you were to say corruption is a cancer, we are not in stage 1, we're in stage 4. We are not in a good place, Nancy.
Certainly not. We are not. I think it's unfortunate. We've had corruption before, but not of this magnitude. I think it's bad. We are not in a good place at all. I think as the Kenyan society, as leadership, as institutions that fight corruption, I think we need to double our efforts because we are not doing very well.
So should President Moi, President Uhuru Kenyatta, following President Moi, following President Kibaki, President Kenyatta is where the issue is now being handled head-on. If you look at the strategy, what would you advise him, watching you tonight, about the government's strategy in the overall war on corruption?
I think I sympathize with the president. He has a monster on his hands in the name of corruption. But what I would advise him is to empower the institutions that are supposed to fight corruption, to deal with corruption. I think put more resources there, empower them so that they play that role. Because what he's doing, I can see a reaction of a president who is very, very frustrated, and rightly so. But I think if we empower the institutions, they would do, they would fight the vice in a better manner. Not that I'm demeaning what he's saying.
Yeah, there are two areas I wanted to speak to you about that. One of them is whether the DCI and the public prosecutor themselves can be able to rattle corruption, because a lot of the stolen money is being hidden. People are hiding it in safety deposit boxes. Others are digging holes in their rural homes because hiding it from being traced.
DCI, I think I like him. He's a very determined man, and I wish him the best of luck. But I think he can catch very many people. If you go out there, what I'm saying, empower that office, empower that institution. And I think it can fight stronger than it's doing. It's doing a good job, though. But as you say, you know, Kenyans, somebody suddenly wakes up and they are millionaires. We know it, we know them. Why aren't we grabbing them and dealing with them? And I liked when the president said we are going to do lifestyle audit. I don't know how far it went, but for me it would have been a very easy way to catch fellows who have stolen.
Where did you buy this?
Where did you buy this big car from? We have been in government, we've worked in government, we know how much salary people get. Then you are getting people putting up mansions, putting up blocks and blocks of apartments, riding huge cars, taking their children abroad for education. Did you go to Britain for your education?
Yes.
It was expensive,
very,
but
very
not as expensive as it is now.
Yeah.
And that is what they are doing. And these are civil servants.
Yeah.
They own helicopters. These days we fight for space up there. Who are these ones and where have they gotten money from?
And it's $2 million to buy a new chopper.
Absolutely, and we know the capacity of our economy. So where are all these billions coming from?
Let me speak to you as a senior lawyer.
Yeah.
This department run by Muthoni Kimani.
Yes.
What is its description under the law? What is its work?
I think it is to track and recover assets of suspected stolen assets.
So is this law not being used? I mean, is the law there?
The law is there, which governs that institution, and I think they are on the right path.
So the standards for asset seizure would even be less than the DCI would have to go through. I would imagine the onus is on you to prove.
It is on you to prove. So I think it should be a multi-pronged approach. to fighting corruption.
Let
Muthoni Kimani do what she's doing. I think that is important. And let the DCI, the DPP also, DCI, they are doing a good job. Empower those officers so that we...
I wanted to ask you point blank, your leadership. So Muthoni Kimani obviously knows you over the years. You've shared both as a practicing lawyer and also then as a Deputy Chief Justice. She was a litigation head at the Attorney General. She's there, she's listening to you this evening. Do you think she can actually put more energy behind that asset recovery unit? Because many Kenyans don't know that is actually provided for in law, don't actually know it's a tool that can be used to help the fight of corruption.
I know Muthoni Kimani, extremely efficient, and if she's empowered, her office is empowered, I think she can do a good job. And already from what I see, I think they are doing a good job. There was a report recently regarding the amount or the properties that they have so far seized. If they are empowered and they go everywhere, and especially into those counties, I think it will be a very good way of trying to fight corruption as the DCI and the DPP do their bit.
You see, your leadership, I'm really happy to have you here. I'm putting your back to the wall because you're not a politician. In fact, you're teaching law, and yours is to critique what is happening here and there. But you also have an impartial eye in looking at the institutions and the law. And you've been talking about strengthening institutions. And where I sit as a journalist, I can tell you point blank that we feel that Muthoni Kimani and even Uhuru Kenyatta is watching. I know he watches point blank. Those are tools already there. We don't need convictions. We don't need long court cases. I mean, if somebody's got a chopper or 10 of them, she can ask, how did you get it?
Yes, she should. And if it is lack of capacity in her office, let the executive give them sufficient resources to do it.
No, so for Kenyans to know, and I don't want to put my words in your mouth, for Kenyans to know, the president has other tools other than arrest and taking somebody to court. This is a matter that I wanted to come out from you because of your seniority. In terms of, are we not using all the tools available?
I think the Muthoni institution can help us get the low-hanging fruit, but the other institutions should continue doing their job, and they should also be strengthened. They should be capacitated, so that even as we recover the choppers and the mansions and the money, and I hear there are people are working with money in the house. They don't know where to run with it to. Let Muthoni go to those houses. She will get a lot of money. But the DPP should not stop doing his job. As we recover, they should also get punished for stealing.
I agree. But would you agree, point blank, your leadership, that it's interrelated and interdependent? Because once you seize the low-lying fruit, normally maneno inatoka up. Because the moment you seize that chopper, where did you buy it? This lawyer paid. Where did he pay? He paid there, and other things arise. So maybe they're not different. Maybe they're interrelated. But perhaps when you shake a tree, what falls first is the low-lying fruit. You say.
Yeah, there we have low-lying fruit, and we should go for them.
Yes.
But again, we go back to our accountability to our country, our levels of integrity, so that those of us entrusted, or the institutions entrusted with jobs, should do them.
That is why I'm saying, because as a powerful woman, Muthoni has the same opportunity that Haji has got, that Kinoti has got. And I'm just saying that perhaps if she would join in a more vigorous way, Kenyans would see results. And I'm asking whether there's sound law with the issue of asset recovery, or there should be any improvement in the law, or does it exist, and is she empowered to act?
There is a very good legislative framework that governs that institution. So far it is good, but probably, as I have said before, capacity. And
so we should even increase the capacity in her office.
Increase the capacity in her office.
Yes.
So that
Forensic auditors.
Forensic auditors, people who can run very fast and recover money in Bungoma.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to ask you as a teacher. I'm sure some of them consider you their mother. The young lawyers practicing today are the majority in the law society. What is the status of the LSK today?
LSK, most people are saying, is a bit weakened now. It used to be stronger. You remember the days of Mutunga and Muite fighting for the good of this country. People thought it was stronger then. Now we are witnessing little wars, young lawyers taking over. But the other day, I was very saddened when they voted to lower standards required of candidates to vie for JSC. As lawyers, we should never be the ones to lower standards of integrity in this country, because then we do a disservice to the country. Section 4 of the Law Society Act places an obligation on the Law Society and its members to be the keepers of public interest, right? So that we should not be the ones, for whatever reason, to be lowering standards and bringing, putting the law society into a questionable place. So as my students, and quite a number of them are my students, they say I remind them of their mothers. I think we should aspire to hold the standards of the law society high.
I saw the other day several social media messages that were disturbing. During the election of the male member for the Judicial Service Commission, there were candidates running, and I thought there was arguments against one person for alleged issues that are before the court. And then it became as though people made it a tribal. I saw a lot of comments in social media that, you know, oh, the Kikuyus have now come together. I don't know, this is this. Is it becoming another political shop as opposed to be a shop where the profession is protected? Are you fearful that the law society can become a mirror of what's happening elsewhere, so that it becomes a tribal affair rather than meritocracy?
I think that's sad. I don't follow social media much, but if that is the argument, then I think it is unfortunate, because this was an open competition among candidates for that position. But as lawyers, again, I think the society looks up to us to set standards. So when we join the tribal narrative and debate, then we lose it, and therefore we stop being of use to society.
You elected Ahmed Abdullahi. He's a Somali, and one can't talk about numbers. There was the days of the law society was there. I just wonder, when you are speaking and mentoring your students, is it among the important messages that the LSK used to send the trade for the country? It used to be actually something we look up to. In fact, one of our most revered public bodies was the LSK.
We try, but I guess we should do better. As you said, we elected senior counsel Ahmed Abdullahi. I was his campaigner, actually. It didn't occur to me that he's not a lawyer like me.
Yeah, from Mungoma.
And as law society, as lawyers, we hold an important position in society. We should be the ones to correct Kenyans when they go wrong, when they indulge in the tribal debate. We should be the ones to correct them. So if we join them, then again, we are not helping the society, and we are actually losing our position as leaders in this country.
I wanted to come to Nancy Baraza. You currently, actually, are you lecturing? You're a senior lecturer. Where next for this great lady, this great Kenyan lady? What are you looking at? Uko mbele, hapa karibuni.
Currently, apart from teaching and doing administrative work as chair of the Department of Public Law, I'm researching, publishing, because if I need to rise to the next level, so I'm aspiring to be a professor in a few years to come. So I'm working hard, researching, reading.
I want to talk to you a bit about your researching. What is your area of interest now? What have you narrowed down to?
My area is human rights. I research in the area of access to justice. In fact, that is the subject that I teach at LLM class. I research in the area of family law. In fact, I need to run back and complete my paper, which I'm going to present at a very major family law conference of university professors of family law at the University of Tel Aviv. So I'm quite busy trying to publish.
My producer, Paloma Gatabaki, was telling me that your passion was in the Bill of Rights. Tell me a bit about when you are putting together your input at Bomas. Did it come out as strongly as you foresaw the Bill of Rights?
Yeah, the Bill of Rights came out very well. You remember I was a commissioner at the CKRC, led by Yashpal Gai Commission. Our draft, which ended up at Bomas and which formed the basis for the later negotiations and harmonization for the 2010 Constitution. I chaired the thematic committee on the Bill of Rights at the CKRC, and so I oversaw the fashioning of the Bill of Rights. When it went to Bomas, I was the rapporteur for the tent for the Bill of Rights, and that is one part of the Constitution that remained uncontroversial and went through the entire process of harmonization.
Yash Guy was here on Point Blank, and he told me that the Bill of Rights is among, in fact, not just Africa. It's a towering provision.
Absolutely. In fact, when we produced our draft, the 2002 draft, in which the Bill of Rights was, people said, and we were getting comments from around the world, that it is the best in the world. Probably just matched by South Africa. Otherwise, we have the strongest and the most inclusive Bill of Rights in the world.
Now, your students at University of Nairobi, watching Point Blank today, are going to be saying that Nancy Baraza has said that we as lawyers have this obligation. But this other public, the Kenyans, who have responsibility in decisions they make, what are you telling them about the people they elect and how serious they should be about forming county, local governments going forward?
I think what I would want to tell Kenyans is that the constitution that you promulgated and adopted for yourselves is a very, very empowering tool for you, Kenyans, but you are not exercising that power. I remember my friend Dr. Mutaha Kanku was in charge of the chapter on devolution. And his passionate debate about devolution was that nobody is going to steal from Kenyans anymore, because money and resources will be sent to the counties. It will go to the people themselves. The people who are employed there are people that know each other, so nobody will dare steal from there. It's unfortunate because we were banking on Kenyans themselves to make sure that nobody steals from them. But it's so sad it is happening in those counties by your own cousins, your own uncles are stealing from you. You have the power to go after them so that nobody steals the resources from you. So Kenyans have sort of let go. They have, I don't know why they have given up.
So point blank, you Kenyans are hearing you.
Yes.
Do they have some responsibility? I heard Francis Atwori say the other day that people elect people who likes to steal. So why are they complaining when people steal? I don't think that is what you're saying. But is there a responsibility that the voter ultimately has, particularly at the county level, where they can see no bridge or road was built?
I think we have, people have power to reject people who have no integrity, people who can steal from them or who are going to steal from them or who steal from them. People can exercise that power by refusing to elect people because they are giving them part of their stolen money. Unfortunately, that is what is happening. Everybody is stealing so that they buy Kenyans to vote for them. It is unfortunate, but they can refuse.
I can't let you go without speaking a bit about Bungoma. Has devolution in general helped Bungoma? Has Bungoma, I know Senator Wetangula is your friend, but generally the leadership, the gains and losses, what about Bungoma? What is your bird's eye view?
Not just Bungoma. I think devolution is good for this country. I've gone around the country quite a bit. I go to many places. And devolution, if it is left to work, it is the best thing that has happened to Kenyans. There is so much transformation in the counties. Bungoma specifically, I come from a place called Mount Elgon, where we never had a road, we never had electricity. I guess this is the national government. Now we have highways, we have electricity. Services have been brought
you know, I have to give you this opportunity. I know you don't do a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Do you want the leaders in the county to improve? Are you happy? Because now your neighbors are watching Nancy Baraza. It's the time you can talk truth to power.
Bungoma, I wish you could catch up with Makueni. I know my governor, Wangamati, he's very good. He's looking after the money. Nobody's stealing in Bungoma. I understand he's so tough on the money, and I want to commend him for that. But we need programs in place that will reach the Wanjikus in the grassroots.
Could you point out one or two that
I would have imagined, because women are the marginalized, women are the movers of social life, of economic life, that he would by now be having a very, very powerful program on gender and the economics, and to look into those things. I haven't heard of one, although when I go there, I'll alert him to it. Several. I think he can go to Makueni and learn from my good old professor of jurisprudence, Professor Kibwana. He taught me, and he's done well.
I know a lot of people say
Yes.
that the county of Makueni is very, very well run.
Yeah.
In terms of women governors, a quick point. Anything to say?
The women governors, at least I don't hear scandals from their counties. I hear good vibes from there. They are focusing on things like water. The Honorable Charity Ngilu talking very positively about what really would have an impact on the ordinary people. My good friend, the governor of Kirinyaga, I think he has programs which are targeting people in the villages, really things which can transform people from the bottom. So,
well, you've heard it, you're watching Point Blank here at KTN News. My guest Lady Justice Nancy Baraza says, Wangamati chunga mali ya watu Bungoma, na nasema kwa kina mama wote, you guys can do a lot more, the law exists. Na ya mwisho, Muthoni Kimani, you've got the law on your side. Ask for more resources for asset recovery in the fight against corruption. Thank you very much indeed, my friend Justice, for coming to Point Blank and at KTN News. You're watching Point Blank. This is KTN News.
Point Blank by TG was filmed on location at the Nairobi Serena Hotel.